Hey guys, so I'm here at Christchurch Hospital right now, and it's 11 p.m. at the moment, and I've pretty much been here the whole day because this morning I woke up with this terrible pain in my abdomen, and it was actually radiating all the way to my back. So yeah, I ended up going to the emergency department, or ED as they call it here. They ran a bunch of tests, did some blood work, and they did a CT scan. And it turns out my liver functions or enzymes are deranged, which, yeah, is not exactly something you want to hear. And I have to admit, I kind of freaked out while I was doing the CT scan today. It just brought back a lot of memories. Like right before I started my chemo 4 years ago, I had an episode of pancreatitis because one of the lymphoma tumors were in that area. And I had the same kind of pain back then. And I did the same exact scans. So right before I got into the scanner today, I honestly just, I broke down a little bit. It's like just like this huge flashback that came just rushing in out of nowhere. And honestly, I find that whole experience like pretty traumatizing even to this day. So yeah, 4 years later, here I am, back in the same situation, same place. But of course, I'm grateful that I can get this kind of healthcare in this country. I'm super lucky for that. But honestly, the one fear I had today was, what if it's a relapse? But luckily, a little while later on, the doctor came in and said, it actually looks like a case of gallstones. At first, they were worried it might be blocking the bile duct, which is more serious. But after my last test today, an MRI, it turns out it's just one big stone sitting in my gallbladder. So the verdict is they're going to take out my entire gallbladder tomorrow through something called a laparoscopic procedure. And for those who don't know, that's basically a minimally invasive surgery. They make a few small cuts, insert a camera and some tools, and take out the gallbladder out that way. So no big open incision. So all things considered, it's not as bad as I feared it would be. On the other hand, I've never actually had an operation before, so it's still a bit scary, mainly because I'll be under an anesthetic, which will make me, completely unconscious. And that's always a bit weird to think about, but it is what it is. And again, I have to be grateful that I am getting this sorted now rather than later. And besides, I've been through like a lot worse before, so I think I'll be okay. Anyway, I just wanted to let you know what's been going on with me, and I'll keep you posted, what happens after.
So, while I wait here, I figured I'd take a moment to talk about gallstones, because honestly, I didn't know much about them until today. And as a health coach in training, I'm learning that the best way to help others is to start by understanding our own health first. So if you're watching this, maybe it can help you too or someone you care about. Let me explain what gallstones are, how they form, and what this whole gallbladder situation actually means. So here's what I've learned. Your gallbladder is this small organ tucked under your liver. It stores bile, a digestive fluid that helps break down fats after you eat. Sounds simple enough, right? But sometimes the stuff in bile, especially cholesterol, starts to harden. When that happens, it can form these little stones. Gallstones. Some people have them and don't even know it. They just sit there quietly. But if one of them gets stuck, like in a bile duct, that's when you feel that sharp pain, like what I had this morning. In my case, they ran a CT scan and did some blood tests right after I got to the hospital. That's when they noticed my liver enzymes were elevated, which can be a sign that something's not right with bile flow. At first, they were worried a stone might be blocking the bile duct, which can lead to complications. But after doing an MRI later that day, they confirmed it's just one big gallstone sitting inside my gallbladder. So while it's not blocking anything yet, it still has to come out before it causes more trouble. The surgery they're planning for me is called a laparoscopic cholecystectomy. It sounds intense, but it's actually one of the most common procedures out there. It's what they call keyhole surgery. Instead of one big cut, they make a few small incisions in your abdomen. Through those, they insert a tiny camera and some surgical tools, and that's how they remove the gallbladder. The camera gives the surgeon a live view of what's going on inside, and because the cuts are small, there's usually less pain, lower risk of infection, and a faster recovery time compared to traditional open surgery. Most people can go home the same day or the next day, and the recovery is usually about a week or so, depending on how your body responds. Now, I've never had any kind of surgery before, so I won't lie. I'm nervous. The idea of going completely under anesthesia and not being conscious while someone's operating on you, it's a little unsettling. But at the same time, I know this is something that needs to be done, because if that stone moves and blocks a duct or causes an infection, it could turn into a much bigger problem. So I'm choosing to see this as a proactive step, catching something early and getting it sorted before it gets worse. And for that, honestly, I'm really grateful. Now, if you're wondering what actually causes gallstones, here's what I've picked up so far. It usually comes down to an imbalance in the components of bile. For example, if there's too much cholesterol or not enough bile salts to keep it dissolved, that excess cholesterol can start to clump together and harden into stones. Another cause can be a buildup of bilirubin. That's a substance your body produces when it breaks down red blood cells. If there's too much of it, that can also lead to stone formation. And then, there are certain risk factors that make gallstones more likely, like being overweight, eating a diet that's high in fat and low in fiber, or even losing weight too quickly, like during crash diets. Genetics also plays a role, which means if gallstones run in your family, your chances might be higher too. Now here's the thing. I've been sharing health tips on this channel for a while. Nutrition, lifestyle, the importance of balance, and I've actually been living pretty healthy for years. So yeah, when they told me I had gallstones, it honestly threw me. But the truth is, even with a good lifestyle, things can still go wrong. Genetics, stress, past medical history, there are so many pieces to the puzzle. And that doesn't mean what we're doing is useless, it just means we're human. That's why I wanted to still share this part, because it's not about being perfect. It's about understanding our bodies better and staying proactive. So here are a few things I've learned that can help lower your risk. Eat more fiber, fruits, veggies, and whole grains. Don't skip meals or crash diet. Keep your weight steady but lose it slowly if needed, and drink plenty of water. These habits don't guarantee immunity, but they do stack the odds in our favor. And even now, they're part of my healing, not just prevention. I honestly didn't expect to be here today. But if my story helps someone else catch this early, or even just understand what it is, then that's something good that came out of it. If you've had gallstones, or are going through something similar, feel free to share your story in the comments. It's always comforting to know you're not alone in this stuff. And if this video helped you in any way, give it a like, maybe share it with someone, and hit subscribe if you want to follow the journey. I'll keep you updated once the surgery happens. Thanks again for watching, and take care of your health. It really is everything.